We wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Is it kin or kin?
Hello, welcome along to Doctor Who Rebrief, where we look back at some of the classic episodes of Doctor Who. This
All
week,
of the classic episodes.
all of them, every single one.
Well, those that still exist.
This week we watched the Dalek Invasion of Earth. To my right is Chris, to my left is Phil, and I'm Rob. Let's begin with the synopsis of the programme. Phil, care to share?
Well, it was 6 episodes. They land in, and they find out they're in London, so that's good news because they've been trying to get home since the show began.
Yeah, so long ago.
So they're finally back in London, which is the closest they've got so far. They've ended up in France in other episodes in the past, and they've ended up on other planets. But now they're back in London, and they quickly discover that there are these people walking around with these weird contraptions on their heads, and they are capturing people, which is bad. And at the very end of the first episode, a Dalek emerges from the water, and we realise that it's
the Daleks
have invaded Earth, and they are controlling the humans. And there's this pocket of resistance that are fighting against them. They have the Daleks have some ships which they've landed, and they're building down into a mine, a big shaft into a mine, which they want to drop a bomb. So at various points, the various members of the crew get captured, and then they escape again, which seems to be a recurring theme in these classic capture, escape, capture, escape. They do that quite a lot.
Pad it out.
And amongst all of this, Susan falls in love, which is lovely. And in the end, she ends up staying behind. Not quite of her own. It's kind of her own choice, but not exactly, because she's in love with this guy David, who's one of the resistance fighters, and she's like, but I can't leave my granddad behind. I'd love to stay with you. I love you, but I can't. And the Doctor overhears this and just leaves without her, basically, and just leaves her there.
It's so weird as well, because the Doctor was like, you've left your shoes behind. You've been so scatty since you left school. Bye. What?
Just goes
so weird.
The main thing is they defeat the Daleks.
They do defeat the Daleks
by reprogramming the robot people
the
to
Robo-Men.
overthrow the Daleks, the actual Daleks. So we get some great shots of hordes of humans picking Daleks up and flipping them over.
Like they're made of aluminium.
Or wood, perhaps. What are our highlights of the programme, Chris?
I really liked all the London scenery shots.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is so heavily set in London.
Yes.
And a lot of it is on a set. But there are bits where they're like running along Westminster Bridge. They go to the Royal Albert Hall past ticket gate 8. It's just so bad.
Good.
I love it. And I love that kind of... Because we see that a lot now, like in Modern Who, there's that one Eccleston episode where the spaceship crashes through Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament, and that was like, oh man, that's such a big deal. And it makes you realise that actually they've been doing that for years and years and years. And it was really nice to have an episode that felt like it was happening, like it could have been happening right now.
I really like that moment where is it Susan and Barbara? Barbara's in the truck. Is Susan with her?
No, she's
with one of the resistance fighters, and they encounter 4 Daleks, because there's only ever 4 Daleks at any one point, because that's all they have the budget to build.
Really?
Yeah. I'm sure I told you this in the last Daleks.
The rest of them are cardboard cutouts in the background.
Yes. And mows them down, which takes out one of their 4. They've only got 3 Daleks left now. So yeah, she literally mows them down, like they see them. But you'd think their Dalek guns would be able to fire on a truck and stop it, but no. I should love the viciousness on her face when she's like.
I think for me the highlight has to be Susan being left behind. Just so glad she's gone. Just dead weight, so whiny, such an irritating character, and she's so different to the current female companions that we get.
I think she's hurt her leg in at least 90% of the serials we've watched that she's been in. She's injured her leg and hasn't been able to move properly.
In this arc, she sprained both ankles at different times.
Yeah.
It's like she had a sprained ankle twice and is just crying and is getting other characters to carry her, and it's like she's just a pointless character. So I'm just glad that she's gone.
The worst thing about her going as well is that this whole time, you know, we've got this female character on screen and she's being really useless and crying all the time, like you say. And then even her decision to leave isn't her decision, because the man's like, I want to marry you. And then the doctor's like, I'm leaving you here. So she doesn't even have any agency in choosing what she's going to do. It's so, like, really kind of ugly, the writing of it.
I think she doesn't come back in the TV series at all, but there's a big finish audio where she features in again. And I think it's the 8th Doctor that turns up, and after like several generations of not visiting his own granddaughter, turns up, and she's had a child by this point, and I think David is dead by this point, and she basically has a massive go at him for leaving. Which
which is fair enough.
What didn't we like so much? What were our lowlights?
I would say it got a bit confusing because they're going from London to Bedford, because that's where the mining is, because they're trying to get to the centre of the earth so they can put a bomb there. And it just got a bit lost in the confusion of who is where. There was a lot of, I'll meet you in London, I'll meet you in Bedford, just kind of back and forth, toing and froing. And then they're in these places that don't look like they're really London or Bedford. Could have been better if it was all set in London. And instead of the mining zone being Bedford, if it was like Croydon or somewhere, a bit, do you know what I mean? Just a bit closer.
Yeah.
I think, plot-wise, just the Daleks seem to have no concept of decent security at all. I mean, you can open their prison doors from the outside just by waving.
They build an escape method into their prison cells in case the Dalek ever accidentally gets locked in.
If you're inside and happen to have a magnet, you can just get out. So it's easy. Nice and easy.
Right.
And the lack of security of the Daleks just seems like a massive plot flaw.
I think, for me, I really liked the idea that the main characters went off and it was all kind of branch storylines. So they were quite separate storylines. So like the Doctor was in one place doing his own thing, while Ian was with another group, and Barbara was with someone else. So some of the times there were kind of parallel storylines running to each other, and you could see how they're all going to link together. Phil, what was your lowlight?
I think the really random side monster of the Sliverer.
Oh yeah.
He was my favourite. I liked him.
Only in for one episode, and he just sort of
he's so good though.
slivered on for one episode. There was no explanation of where it came from, or no explanation of
so to speak,
of anything really. And then it sort of they sort of quickly avoided it, and it was gone.
Yeah,
random.
Not quite as intimidating when it came into the building as well.
No, well, it just basically looked like a man with a blanket over him.
Just a man with a blanket over his
very dirty
head.
blanket.
Just going up to people going... That's what it was really, wasn't it?
Zoidberg.
My lowlight was... I really liked the idea that the separate characters went off and did their own thing, and there were kind of parallel storylines all running at the same time, and then they all came together and resolved. It made for quite a nice story arc. But I just think it got a little bit too messy. So we weren't quite sure where some of the characters were at some points, who they were with, which side characters they teamed up with, or what they were planning to do. So it was a really nice concept, but I just think over 6 weeks it was too difficult to follow.
Yeah.
There was just too much happening. There wasn't really a central story arc that you could follow. So it was just a bit messy, the writing. It's a good concept, but just needed refining. So, who are our deaths this week that we must pay tribute to? Who are our Doctor Whoologies?
A wheelchair guy. Lived as a scientist. He developed some bombs. They didn't always work, but which did cause some people to die. But you know, he eventually did some that worked, and on the Daleks, and cracked their casings. They're very hard, sturdy casings,
so to speak.
And yeah, even though he was confined to a wheelchair, even though he couldn't go out and fight, he did what he could.
And that was such a good micro story as well, because he kind of messed up the first attack by having bombs that weren't good enough, and then he, really wanted to prove himself. I guess it was a really nice moment, wasn't it? Speaking of the first attack, I'd like to pay tribute to the two gents who pulled a Dalek over, only for one of them to be crushed to death by it. That was quite sad, They had this great idea. Hey, why is no one pulling the Daleks over? And that's why, because you get crushed to death by it, and they go, wah!
Never topple the Dalek. My eulogy has to go to one of the Dalek resistance fighters who was fighting a bunch of the robot people who were under the control of the Daleks, and then he finds out that one of the robot people, Robomen, is his brother, which is his brain's being controlled by the headset. So that was quite a touching moment. And they fought each other, and he tried to kind of talk his brother out of being under the Dalek mind control.
Phil, it's Larry. Your brother, Larry. Think, Phil.
But it didn't work, and they both killed each other.
Some good writing there, I thought.
Yeah, it was really
nice.
Really touching moment of them kind of trying to reconnect as brothers, but it not working, and then them both tragically dying. So that my eulogy goes to them. Were there any firsts that we saw in this series?
What, you mean Doctor Who debuts?
Doctor Who debuts indeed, Phil.
Well, it was the first time that a companion's been swapped out. So a companion, first time a companion has left the TARDIS, and which we're now quite used to. People come in and out of the TARDIS all the time, every couple of years.
Yeah, it's the first time Daleks visit Earth.
Yes,
Well,
yeah.
So it's quite cool seeing them wheeling themselves across.
And the first time we get to see their spaceships, because they were all, and last time they were just on Skaro, they had their base, but we didn't see any spaceships. Because they have the flying saucer type spaceships, which they still have to this day.
Slightly better animated though.
Yeah.
First time we've had an on-screen snog as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm quite disappointed it wasn't between Ian and Barbara though.
Ian and Chris.
Ian and Chris.
Well, I think
that's your disappointment.
Well, thank you very much for watching Doctor Who Rebrief. If you click Chris's face, you can go and watch Doctor Who Debrief, the other series that we do where we watch the modern episodes of Doctor Who. And if you click Phil's face, you can subscribe to this channel and you'll get a little notification every time a new episode of Doctor Who Rebrief is released. So thank you very much for watching.
This is the last episode of our first series of Doctor Who Rebrief.
Wow,
we're
I can't believe we got through it.
We're going to take a bit of a break now. We're halfway through the Hartnell years. We'll be back at some point in 2017 to do the second half of the Hartnell era. With a brand new companion, probably.
Are we getting a new companion?
we should, shouldn't we? We should get a new companion.
The way you phrase it, yeah, I'm going off with Bob David.
Can we fit them on the couch?
Yeah, someone else can fit in for me.
But we'll see you in 2017.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
If you Chris Phil, if you click, just going up to people going.